This is the miracle of literature. It makes us step right out of our own skin and put ourselves sometimes under the skins of other people.
Amoz Oz gehört zu den großen Stimmen der Weltliteratur. Wir haben den israelischen Schriftsteller in Berlin getroffen.
Good morning, Amos Oz.
Good morning.
We are meeting in Berlin. Did you sleep well?
More or less, more or less. Whenever I am in Germany, and I've been in Germany many, many times, I don't have any problems during the day, but I have some shadows during the night.
So one has to say your parents fled the Nazis and a part of your family
Yes.
was extincted by the Holocaust.
Yes.
But over the years you developed a relationship to Germany and to Germans. How did this come?
In the 1950s, when I was a young man, I vowed never to set foot in Germany, and I vowed never to buy any German products. The only thing I could not possibly boycott was the literature. I knew that if I boycotted the literature, I will be like them. So I read the books, particularly the post-war German literature, because I was very curious.
So you read Siegfried Lenz and...
Yes, my dear friends Siegfried Lenz and Heinrich Böll and Günter Grass and Ingeborg Bachmann and Hans Magnus Enzensberger, everything that I could find in Hebrew or English translation, as I don't read German. And those authors made me ask myself, what would I do if I were in their place in those terrible years? This is what literature is doing to us. It makes the reader ask herself or himself, what if I were her? What if I were him? This, I think, is the miracle of literature. It makes us step right out of our own skin and put ourselves sometimes under the skins of other people. Having read those books, it became more and more difficult for me to simply hate everything that is German.
Now you are one of the greatest voices of the Israeli literature. And what is the meaning and significance of writing for you?
You know, it's a difficult question. It means for me more or less what the music means for the musician. I can't live without it. It's very hard. Very often I don't enjoy writing. It's a battle, it's a struggle. And it's not becoming any easier with the years. You know, in any other profession, a carpenter making a table, the 100th table is much easier than the first one. Not so for writers. It's becoming harder and harder with each book, because you don't want to write the same book twice, and because you are more aware of the flaws and more reluctant and more careful. I found out that there are one or two things which no writer in the world can do, not even Shakespeare, not even Tolstoy. It's impossible for a writer to invent a character who is more intelligent than the writer. No way. And then it's also impossible for a writer, even Shakespeare or Tolstoy or Thomas Mann, to invent a character who has a better sense of humor than the writer. It's not possible. More brave, yes. More adventurous, yes. More sexy, yes. But not more humorous and not more intelligent. This is the limit.
Wonderful. So let's talk about your novel. The title is Judas, and so what did fascinate you about this Judas Iscariot, who is in the Christian Gospels the ultimate traitor, and sells Jesus for 30 pieces of silver?
Yes. Well, Judas is a very provocative title for a novel. In any European language, the word Judas simply means traitor. You call a person Judas, you are spitting in the face of this person. I wanted this provocation, and I wanted to challenge the old ancient convention about Judas and about the connection between Judas and Jude. Even the sound of the words is so similar. I have always regarded the story of the 30 pieces of silver and the treason of Judas and the most famous kiss in history, the kiss of the traitor, more famous than the kiss of Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
I always regarded this story as the Chernobyl of anti-Semitism in Christian tradition. Recently, also in Muslim tradition. And I wanted to retell the story from a different point of view.
This would be my question. What is your subversive theory or interpretation?
Yes. The interpretation belongs to my protagonist Shmuel Ash, but I think I more or less agree with him. He suggests that Judas was not at all a traitor. In fact, he was the most loyal disciple of Jesus.
Yes.
In a way, he even believed in Jesus much more than Jesus believed in himself. Jesus is very reluctant. We can read about it in the New Testament. He is afraid. He is not at all sure of himself. Judas convinces him, get on the cross, walk off the cross, show the whole world. And Jesus does, and he gets crucified, and he tries to walk off the cross, and it's not working. And that's when he is saying the very famous words, "Oh God, why have you forsaken me? Oh Father, why have you forsaken me?" He tries to walk off the cross, and he fails. Jesus dies on the cross, Judas hangs himself. This is the interpretation of Shmuel Ash. I wasn't there on the day of the crucifixion. You know, I had a dentist appointment at the same time when the crucifixion happened. But I think Shmuel Ash's interpretation is much more convincing than the story in the New Testament, which I find not at all convincing.
Your novel takes place in Jerusalem in 1959, 11 years after the foundation of the State of Israel.
Yes.
You were 9 years old then. Do you remember this very day?
Of course I remember. I lived as a 9-year-old boy in Jerusalem, besieged by the Jordanian Arab army, bombarded, shelled, starved, no water. For several months we lived in basements and cellars. Of course I'll never forget it. And there was a very immediate fear that the Holocaust is going to repeat itself in Jerusalem. They will kill all of us. I will never forget it.
Yeah, and your novel poses the surprising question if there could have been an alternative to the decision to establish the State of Israel.
Yes.
So, and Sheatil, one of your protagonists, a Zionist, is friends with Arabs, and he says, he opposes to the foundation of the State of Israel. He says Arabs and Jews can live together in one state. So therefore he is a traitor, or he is labeled as a traitor. Do you think he is a traitor?
Well, you know, sometimes, as Shmuel Ash says, traitors are simply people who are ahead of their time. And they are regarded as traitors by many of their contemporaries. Abravanel is against the creation of a Jewish state. But it's because he is also against nation-states altogether, everywhere. He thinks nation-state is anachronism. It's going to vanish very soon. It's a charming vision, very close to Jesus Christ, by the way. But Shmuel argued with him by saying, look, every other people in the world, they have bars on their windows and lock on their doors. Why the Jewish people has to be the only one in the world with no bars and no locks, especially after 2,000 years of persecution and massacres and pogroms and genocide? Let us, for a change, be the fifth one in the world to give up the locks on the doors and the bars on the window. Why should we be the first? Shealtiel Abravanel's argument is very convincing, but so is Shmuel Ash's response. The novel is not a manifesto. No. I haven't written it in order to tell my readers, vote Abravanel, or vote Shmuel Ash, or vote Jesus Christ. No, I wanted the reader to be able to empathize with every one of them, with different points of views.
Like you wrote in the masterpiece, A Tale of Love and Darkness, it's a tragedy, it is a conflict between right and right. And therefore, you also were labeled as a traitor.
Yes. The last time was last summer when I criticized the excessiveness of the Israeli military response in Gaza. So when they call me a traitor, I take this badge and I put it on my lapel as a decoration. I think I am in an excellent company. If I think back of some writers like Thomas Mann, like Solzhenitsyn, like Pasternak. They were called traitors by many of their own people and by their governments.
Since 65 years your country is at war. Do you think you will witness in your lifetime peace?
It depends how long I live. I don't know. I really don't know. But even if I don't witness it, I know it will come, and I can tell you more than that. It took Europe about 2,000 years of massacres and genocides and terrible bloodshed to reach the present equilibrium, more or less, if you forget about Ukraine and some other niches. Equilibrium. It's not going to take the Jews and the Arabs 2,000 years, it's going to take less. And Jews and Arabs will shed less blood than Europe did. Its own blood and the blood of others. So please be patient with us.